this time it's 6:30 and, what's that?
It's in the corner.
Yeah, so at this time it's 6:30. If you'll all join me, stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, we're going to open tonight with the public hearing in regards to the board's intent to apply for a CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, for funding for the wastewater treatment plant. And the motion to open the public hearing, please.
So,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion, okay. So, is it okay I'll read what the hearing is about for the record? We're holding this public hearing this evening on Wednesday, July 9th, 2025 at 6:30 at the Byron Town Hall for the purpose of hearing public comments of the Town of Byron community development needs and discuss the possible submission of one or more community development block grants applications for the 2025 program year. The CDBG program is administered by the New York State Office of Community Renewal and will make available to eligible local governments $20 million for the 2025 program year for housing, economic development, public facilities, public infrastructure, and planning activities for the principal purpose of benefiting low to moderate income persons. The Town of Byron is applying for up to $2 million in CDBG funds to do the wastewater treatment plant improvements. This hearing will provide further information about the CDBG grant program, including progress towards beneficiary goals and program objectives, and will allow for citizen participation in the development of any proposed grant applications and/or provide technical assistance to develop alternate proposals. Comments on the CDBG program or proposed projects will be received at this time. This hearing is being conducted pursuant to Section 570.486, Subpart 1 of the CFR, and in compliance with the requirements of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974. And at that point, this is the public hearing. Does any public person want to make any comments in regards to this public hearing that we're having this evening?
Come on, Byron, you gotta say something, right? You're doing that.
Is it beer 30 yet?
So, board members, do you understand what, this is a formality for the process of this funding application? So, I don't know if you've looked at any of the documents that have been forwarded back and forth, etc. If anybody has any questions, please ask. We'll try to, amongst ourselves, answer them. $2 million is at stake.
I guess the only question I would have on it is, the housing. Who are we looking to house?
We're not, okay, this isn't about housing anybody. This is the CDBG grant application, this process. That's the application format by which we're applying under. We're not applying for any housing. This is just applicable to our funding for $2 million we're requesting from this fund as an infrastructure project with a wastewater treatment project, okay? So it just falls under something that often you can apply for other grants. We're not doing that as far as housing goes, okay? Anybody out there?
The only thing that I would say is seeing other towns getting grants in the daily news, and why not try?
Well,
I think that's a great
We've retained G&G Consulting, which is writing the grant application as we speak. As we mentioned later in the meeting, John and Christy have been working diligently trying to get stuff over to both the grant writers. So this is the hearing for the CDBG grant application. I think at this point, a motion to close the hearing is acceptable. If Nobody has any other
I make a
questions?
motion to close the hearing.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The public hearing is closed at 6:37. Shall we proceed with business since the hearing was so short?
Sure, why not?
Or,
Yeah.
so with that, first order of business is for the regular meeting. No, that's okay.
Is
So,
that John?
I think you have to wait till advertise time to start regular meeting.
so if we want to use the facilities, we can,
In the legal ad, I put immediately following regular town board.
Oh, you did? You advertised that way?
That's usually what I do, just in case.
Well,
you
Christie
know.
saved the day then, you can.
okay, thank you,
Sorry.
Christie. No, that's not,
Normally, just because you never know how long these things take, and sometimes they're super quick.
Very
so-
smart of you to do
Okay.
that.
Yes,
that's
sir.
perfect. So with that, since there's nobody here, we won't do any introductions tonight, how's that?
Sorry, everyone.
It's okay.
Byron, I'm Byron.
I should have texted you.
What's your name?
Did everyone get a copy of the minutes of the June 11th and the special board meeting held on June 18th?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes.
There was a change that I noticed, Fred Moore at the last meeting, correct?
That is correct.
That he needs to be removed from there as attendance, he was absent from that
Oh,
meeting.
I'm sorry. Oh, I will take care of that, thank you.
And with that change, I think, anybody else see anything else that needed? No, not here. That's the only note I had on mine for it.
For June 11th.
What's that?
For
For the June 11th, yes.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. So motion to approve June 11th's board minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. So moved. We had a special board meeting on June 18th. There were no, what's the word I'm looking for, Jeff? No actions taken at that meeting, and there were no minutes. So I just need approval to,
I'm listed twice on that.
on where?
On
On
the
which?
heading of the June 18th meeting.
Oh, you know what, I don't know if I don't,
I don't have the copy in front of me, but where she's got the list of attendees. I'm listed
Oh, and you're on there
at the top.
twice, Fred?
oh, okay, sorry, I missed that one. So take Fred off. One of them?
We'll take one by one. How was
Just
that?
take it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yep, okay. All right, then.
So a motion to approve June 18th minutes with those changes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. We're on to abstracts and vouchers.
I'll read it. Councilman offered the following resolution moved for its adoption. Be it resolved that the town of Byron board pay the following abstract general fund, voucher number 139, 156 for $33,891.33. Highway fund, -61-68 for $15,878.59. Sewer fund -40-44 for $15,892.07. Sewer capital fund, number 9, number 11, for $28,034.30. Water improvement benefits, number 10, for $18,187.13. General post audit, number 30, number 35 for $1,376.06. Sewer post audit, number 12, at number 13 for $627.81.
Second.
Hold the board.
Aye.
Aye.
The next order of business is We have several items to be compliant with the grant applications for the wastewater treatment plant. That grant application is being submitted at the end of this month, 7/30/2025 is the deadline for both the consolidated funding applications that are being drafted right now. At this time, since we're paying for the design, the engineering final designs of the project, and we have that, there's a lapse in funding right now, triggered from EFC based on DEC requirements. They want to see certain things before they approve things. EFC wants to see things from DEC before they trigger some of our funding that we have available. So what we need to do at this time is we need to move funds from our reserve fund, our capital reserve fund from sewer, so that we can continue to pay the engineer at this time. So Municipal Solutions has drafted the resolution for us to be able to legally move the funds to be utilized at the town level until the funding comes through that we're guaranteed. The guaranteed part, not the stuff that we're applying for. We're still hoping for that, okay? So with that, would someone please read the resolution?
I'll read it.
Thank you.
I offer the following resolution and move for its adoption. The Town of Byron Board Resolution number, I don't know what that number is, Christie, authorizing the transfer of funds from the Sewer Fund Capital Reserve Fund to the Interfund Transfer Line, subsequently to the Wastewater Treatment Plant Capital Fund, subject to permissive referendum. Whereas the Town of Byron maintains a Sewer Fund Capital Reserve for the purpose of financing capital improvements related to the town's sewer infrastructure. And whereas the town board has determined it is in the best interest of the town to transfer $599,475 from the Sewer Fund Capital Reserve to the Interfund Transfer Budget Expenditure Line. And whereas the funds so transferred will be subsequently transferred to the Wastewater Treatment Plant Capital Fund to be used for capital needs related to the town's wastewater treatment plant improvement project. And whereas the proposed transfer is subject to a permissive referendum pursuant to Section 6-C of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Byron, Genesee County, New York as follows. The Town Board hereby authorizes the transfer of $579,475 from the Sewer Fund Capital Reserve Fund to the Interfund Transfer Budget Expenditure Line. The Town Board further authorizes the subsequent transfer of the same amount from the Interfund Transfer Line to the Wastewater Treatment Plant Capital Fund. This resolution is adopted subject to a permissive referendum as provided in Section 6-C of the General Municipal Law. The Town Clerk is hereby directed to publish and post the required notice of this resolution in accordance with Article 7 of the Town Law of the State of New York. Resolved, this resolution shall take effect 30 days after its adoption unless a petition is duly filed requesting that it be submitted to the voters of the town in accordance with Section 91 of the Town Law. I ask for a second.
I second it.
Ward,
Aye.
Hey,
Martin?
Aye.
Aye. That resolution is passed. So Christie, you will,
Already got it ready to go.
okay, perfect. And the clock starts ticking for that and see what comes through. All of these transfers will be documented for next month's meeting, showing movement, okay, just so you know, because I'll have to move it from the class account. So you'll see that at next month's meeting. Right now, currently, everything's in a due from our general fund. Okay, so everything will be paid back accordingly after that. The other thing that we need to take care of for these grant applications is we're required by the CDBG grant application to have a position appointed, a fair housing called? It's a fair housing officer needs to be appointed to the town. Originally, I see Christie saw the second email that got taken out of yours. Originally, it stated that the town clerk was to be appointed the fair housing officer. We need to choose a fair housing officer and appoint one for the grant application. I don't know.
Which grant application is this?
This is the CDBG is requiring a fair housing. It's a federal grant. So we need to appoint a fair housing officer that takes care of these fair housing requirements. Has it ever been done before? Do you aware of it, Jeff?
No.
Okay.
What is the federal grant for?
This is that CDBG grant. That's federal funds that are being administered at the state level. So this is a requirement of the application. If you don't have, you can't apply for $2 million if you don't do this. So at this time, in reading what the requirements are for the office, the fair housing officer, we can revisit this later, but for the purposes of this, getting this application submitted by the end of the month, we can amend this and find someone later, but if you so chose as a board to declare the town supervisor or myself as the fair housing officer at this time, and we can revisit it at the beginning of next year, that's fine. There's some requirements, part of it, I don't exactly know, but I will do my best to comply with those, and I do have a real estate license, and I just took the fair housing class for the state. So with that, if you wanted to choose me as the person, I will do so until the end of the year, and then we can revisit this if you'd like. That's my offering, or we'll have to figure something else out.
I would like to table it until I research it more and find out more about it. And is this the same grant that you sent to the governor declaring Byron a pro-housing?
This is the same grant, yes.
Well, why would you do that without the board? You're speaking for the whole town.
No, I sent a
and you have
letter of
no
intent.
approval for the board.
No, I sent a letter of intent that we were interested in being part of it. That was all it is. Nothing can happen until after the board. It's a letter of intent.
I suggest we table it too.
We don't have time to table it. We'll have a special meeting at the end of this month or sometime before, because this stuff has to go to the grant writers.
But
Then
Candy,
it should,
we have to
we've
go.
had months. It should have been brought up before, not trying to strong arm us into it's gotta be done now.
And that's.
So when would you like to have this meeting so you can figure this out?
Next month.
Nope, it'll be, I'll call a meeting before that.
Maybe you should have brought it up prior to the.
I didn't know, when did we get this notice, Christie? 2 weeks ago?
About 2 weeks ago.
But Candy, you can't stuff something down people's throats.
I'm not stuffing down anything.
But
Just
this-
you put it on
this-
here.
The letter of intent sent is not a requirement for this grant we're getting, or we're applying for.
No,
That's
that's,
for Scott Madison.
no,
It is required for the grant you want,
no, you're wrong.
for the housing and fixing up the hotel.
No, that's,
So that's what I would like to verify
Okay.
before
So-
I do this.
Christie, do you have the email from the grant writer requesting it? I don't have that stuff in front of me. From
Yeah.
Deb DeLong.
So
So
I
there was-
guess,
there was
the question I have,
So-
how long have you known about it, and why did you wait till tonight to bring this up?
Do you read your emails?
No, my email is down. I haven't had my email for a month and a half.
Oh, there's the problem.
I didn't see it in my emails.
Okay. Did you find the letter from Deb DeLong?
6/29.
And what did it say? Did you read it? So originally there was some confusion when initially it was sent to us that we should need to be a pro-housing community. We don't need to be a pro-housing community for this grant. We just have to have submitted a letter of intent. Okay? That's all that the federal grant is asking for. So we've done that.
We have not done it.
You're right, I did. I sent a letter of intent requesting the information
So
to provide the
if
town.
it does nothing, how come we were included with the letter of intent then?
I don't understand your question.
You just said the letter has no effect, but now you're telling us it includes us
It includes us where? I don't.
for this grant.
It is a piece of paper that needs to be submitted, I believe, in the grant application saying that we are participating in this. Is there a problem with saying, gee, we might want to be a pro-housing community? What is the
Well,
big
I'd
deal?
like time to research
Well,
Well, no, you had a
what
year.
else is involved in it.
It's a letter of intent.
Yeah, but Katie, what intent for what? We should all be able to talk about this and find out what our intent is. Our intent to have whatever housing next to mine,
Well, we have to-
I should be able to exercise my right to, and all the people
So
that
are
are
you,
part
my question to you is, are you going to deny a $2 million grant over me?
No, I was told this isn't required for the $2 million grant
By who?
by Scott Madison.
Okay, well, he's not the grant writer for that.
Maybe he should have been.
Maybe he should have been.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't agree with it.
So who is the grant writer for it?
G&G process, G&G,
Jay Grasso.
J. Grasso, G&G. I forgot the
Municipal
last name.
Consulting.
Yeah.
And have we worked with them historically on grants?
He's helped us with income
The income survey for this and stuff like that, so
for the water districts.
their expertise is in this. So what's Deb DeLong? Did you find that?
Her email was from June 29th. And basically it was, she's trying to get everything out to everybody, but a lot of folks are on vacation. The initial pro-housing email though came in March. I think it was brought up in March when Jay Grasso had come in to do his brief presentation. So she had just stated that she included the 3 documents and we'll need a fair housing officer resolution once it's passed. And please make sure the pro-housing letter of intent is sent to me and signed copy. I'll need the most current version of the municipal sewer budget and a proof of capital reserve fund. And she attached all the documents, all the tentative resolutions.
Okay. So at this time, we need to appoint a fair housing officer for the town of Byron. Are we going to do that this evening? And if we're not, I'd like to know why.
First of all, I don't think we have enough information. I'd like to table it, and we'll talk about it at the next meeting.
Okay, so we're not going to submit the application the end of July because we can't fill the requirement of this with having a fair housing officer written in there.
This resolution isn't just to appoint a fair housing officer.
What is it?
Well, maybe we should read the resolution.
Go ahead. Please do.
I am reading the resolution, I am not offering a resolution for its adoption. I want everybody to understand what this says.
We can deny it. Go ahead, read it.
Whereas all persons are afforded a right to full and equal housing opportunities in the neighborhood of their choice. And whereas the town of Byron will implement programs to ensure equal opportunity and housing for all persons regardless of race, color, sex, national origin, religion, familial status, disability, age, sexual orientation, gender identity, marital status, and use of services support animals. And whereas the town has determined the need for a fair housing officer to represent the town to implement the fair housing programs, now therefore be it resolved that the town declares as the fair person, as the fair housing officer for the town to be the primary point of contact for all fair housing issues. And be it further resolved that within the available resources, the town will assist all persons who feel they have been discriminated against because of race, color, sex, national origin, religion, familial status, disability, age, sexual orientation, gender identity, marital status, and use of service or support animals to seek equity under federal and state laws. And be it further resolved that the town shall make publicly known that this resolution, and through this publicity, shall cause owners of real estate, developers, and builders to become aware of their respective responsibilities and rights under the Federal Fair Housing Act and any state or local laws or ordinances. And be it further resolved that the town will further this action, including but not limited to the following: conduct at least one fair housing activity per year to better inform citizens of their rights under the fair housing law. Display fair housing posters at conspicuous and appropriate locations. Display fair housing pamphlets and information at conspicuous and appropriate locations. Develop and implement a fair housing page on their municipal website. Develop a marketing plan to send out fair housing information at least yearly to water customers. Declare April Fair Housing Month. Be it further resolved that the town will promote fair housing education with elected officials of the town as well as developers, financial institutions, real estate professionals, and residents of the community. Now, what I just read says a heck of a lot more than appointing a fair housing officer.
Yep, I really don't want to take it because it's a lot of responsibility, but we need to get this done for the sake of that.
So if Jay Grosso
But if
writing this grant,
But if we take a poll of the board, I say no. If you want my opinion, I don't want to do it. Jeff, what's your?
if Jay Grosso is writing this grant, why weren't we aware of this sooner?
I have no idea.
That's it, that, you know what, and that's exactly Jeff's point.
He's had months.
No idea.
He's had months and
You
this
don't
would
do
have
this, you have
been
no idea.
taking
This is-
care of
This is
well
not,
in
you're
advance.
stuffing shit down people's throat that you shouldn't have to do. This is not the right way to do business. I disapprove.
Okay. So, I guess we pull the board. Are we passing this resolution to appoint?
Absolutely.
Wait a second, you didn't even get a first and a second, did you?
Oh, sorry.
So what do I have to second it?
Nothing, you know? If
No,
somebody-
Yeah, it's a resolution
It's
that,
not, I say no.
If it hasn't been offered to be adopted, then there can't be any action taken on it. Someone has to make a motion to,
I make a motion to disapprove.
you don't have to do that. Just-
No.
No action means the same thing.
Okay.
I want to ask a question.
yes, please do.
So, does this grant that this fair housing resolution has to do with, is how this previous resolution is supposed to be paid back?
Eventually, yes.
Well, then you should rescind that resolution, because you
We-
just transferred $500.
No. No. We have the funds in a reserve account to be utilized at this point
For anything?
for sewer infrastructure, yes.
Okay.
So the thing is, we can't trigger, we could either take the money out of the reserves, or we could go into short-term financing for it, but we have the money within the district to
Okay.
be able to do
I
that.
just
So,
wanted to make sure to protect the board that if this grant is not applied for,
no,
then the
just,
$599 that you just transferred.
no, that does not impact that.
Okay, that's, I wanted to be sure of.
So, we have the next item on here is, there's two easement resolutions to approve for Monroe County Water Authority, one on North Virgin Road and one on Tripp Road. If someone would please read the resolution.
I'll read that one. For the following resolution and move for its adoption. Approval acquisition of an easement by the Monroe County Water Authority pursuant to 1096-6-A of New York's Public Authorities Law. Whereas the Monroe County Water Authority intends to provide public water service to 6951 North Virgin Road located in the town of Byron. And whereas the property owner has elected to retain and maintain the private well water source on the premises and maintain separation between the plumbing that contains the public water, the public system, and the plumbing that contains the well water, the private system. And whereas the acquisition of the permanent irrevocable access easement is necessary to allow the authority to inspect the public and private systems to make sure they are not interconnected as required by New York State Sanitary Code. And whereas the permanent irrevocable access easement is located at 6951 North Virgin Road, tax account number 12.0-1-3.2, which is owned by Ludwig Family Irrevocable Trust. And whereas 1096-6-A of New York's Public Authorities Law requires the authority to obtain the prior approval of the town board for the above referenced acquisition, now therefore be it resolved that the town hereby approves of the authority's acquisition of the permanent irrevocable access easement located at 6951 North Virgin Road in accordance with 1096-6-A of the New York Public Authorities Law, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be provided to the authority.
I'll second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution passed. The next resolution, please.
I offer the following resolution and move for its adoption. Approval for an acquisition easement for the Monroe County Water Authority pursuant to -1096-6-A New York State Public Water Authority Law, whereas Monroe County Water Authority intends to provide public water service to Zero Trip Road located in the town of Byron. And whereas the acquisition is necessary for the operation, maintenance, and the future replacement of the water main, which will allow authority to continue to reliability provide potable water to the area. And whereas the easement is located along the frontage of Zero Trip Road, tax account number 10-10.0-131, which is owned by Cole E. Carson and Taylor L. Schofield. And whereas the number 1096-6-A of New York State Public Authorities Law requires the authority to obtain the prior approval of the town for the above referenced acquisition. Now therefore be resolved that the town hereby approves of the authority acquisition for the frontage and easement of Zero Trip Road in accordance with 1096-6-A of New York State Public Authority Law, and where it be further resolved that the copy of this resolution be provided to the authorities.
Second.
All aboard?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Discussion on short-term moratorium local law. Anybody have any comments on that? Or, I do know that I was at the planning board meeting last week and they're working on the zoning laws for that. They've gotten quite a ways with it. There's several zoning laws of other municipalities that they're cutting and pasting a little bit, best practices and stuff like that. I don't know if you want to proceed with a moratorium, or if you just want to let it play out. I believe that probably within 2 to 3 months, John, maybe you can, that they should have something drafted.
I think they'll probably have something for you to introduce in the next month or two.
Okay, that's what I thought too. I mean, they just added a couple things, I think.
Right, just a couple of revisions I think are unnecessary. But it's up to the board which one to do.
Just my opinion on the whole thing, I'm not against it. Just that the only thing if it goes into zoning and code, just if it were at my houses or apply for a permit and make sure that everybody approves, your neighbors or something, is, I guess, would be my opinion.
I think you'll see a lot of that once the revisions come through from the planning board,
From
because
the
that
planning
was
board,
part
yeah.
of the conversation.
And Brandon, you know a little bit more about it, you've been on it, so it's in the works, and I'm not against it, I just want, your neighbors, a neighborly thing to make sure that if somebody's coming in.
And health and safety.
So with that, did you want to reach out to the planning board and get a copy of their draft, just to take a look at it before we get it proposed to us, so they're not going back and forth?
Sure, I'd love to.
That would be Chris Hilbert, could probably provide that for you. So there's no need at this point for a moratorium, do you believe, or?
I would say I don't think action's needed then, or table it till next month, because I think they'll have something pretty quick.
Okay.
They will then?
Probably not by next month, well, it'd be close.
Yeah.
They might finalize it to send it, but I
And
mean,
Brandon, who's the contact there?
Chris.
Chris Hilbert.
Okay, yeah.
If you want his email or phone number, let me know. I
I
can
can
give
give
it
it to you too if you need
And
it.
Chrissy, thanks, John, but Chrissy, if you could, I'd
Yep.
like to talk to him. Yeah, thank you.
Sure thing.
at this time, we have reports from Highway Superintendent David.
I've been working out of town quite a bit. Monday and Tuesday, we paved Shell Road. Tomorrow, we're gonna try to fix up the driveway so they can get in and out a little bit better. And that's about it for now.
I saw you shimmed up Swamp Road near the town line. Well, that's a lot better. That was
Till we got rained out, we're gonna go back.
okay, thank you.
Motion to approve the Highway Superintendent's report.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town clerk's report, please.
Alrighty, Town of Byron Supervisors account, I paid $2,940.76. Also to the town supervisors for the parks, we had a $50 rental. I paid Ag and Market for the spay and neuter program $54, the DEC $47.24, and the State Department of Health $90. I know we had discussed last month regarding the sewer billing technology coming to an end. I was asked if I could find any other quotes or, see what we could do if we could find anything cheaper. So I did reach out to Williamson. They do have a cloud-only based program. That investment would be $2,025 for a year. The annual cost is $1,085. Just to remind you guys of the other one, Edmunds GovTech is a $6,100 one-year investment. After that, it's $2,100 a year. Williamson Law Book for their desktop version is a one-year investment of $8,325, an annual cost of $2,000. I did go ahead and reach out to a couple other villages that I know do sewer water billing in Genesee and Orleans County, just trying to do my due diligence to find out what's best to be utilized. So one of the villages does use the Edmunds GovTech and is happy with the upgraded program. They started with the upgraded version, so that's what they are used to, and they're happy with it. One of the villages does have a cloud-based account with another random company, states that it works okay, but the customer service is based overseas and it's not helpful when support's needed. The other village does have an agreement with another town or village. It works, but the village still needs to have some kind of accounting program to input payment and financial information just for their records. With all that being said, I still feel that Edmonds GovTech, for what they're offering, is the best move to make. Going into 2026, if we are going to move forward with Edmonds GovTech, then they do need to know by August 1st so they can start implementing and transferring our history, our data over and things like that. Also get me trained so we're ready to go in January. So I guess that's in your court what you folks want to do, if I can sign the agreement or if there's something else that somebody has.
So if I read it accurately, the Williamson, that doesn't automatically transfer historical data, that would be manually input?
It does not, yes. Either myself or they would have to, most likely I assume they, especially for the price, they would have to go in and manually enter all the history in the accounts.
Christie,
Yes, sir.
under Edmonds, you're saying 6,100 one-year investment.
Yes.
And an annual cost of 2,100. How many annual increments would we receive?
So annually, the cost is going to be $2,100. So if we do sign up, I believe they broke it down into, so the one-year investment does include obviously a one-year subscription to it. So that would be the 21 added in there. And the way that they broke it down was professional services and implementation, so all the training, all the document loading, getting our forms, our actual invoice set in their template so it can be printed, all that good stuff was a flat one-time fee of $2,500. And then the conversion services, they price out differently, and that's $1,500. That takes all of our old history, all of our old reports, it backs up all of our history, they integrate it into the new program, so everything is at your fingertips for moving forward. And the $2,100 is obviously the support annually, the support that Edmonds GovTech does give for backing up your system, any kind of hardware issues, or electronic issues, I should say, customer service, customer support.
What I'm getting at is, do we have an idea of how many years this $2,100 is going to be applied to? Is it a 3-year contract, a 5-year contract, or can we find ourselves right back at this step next year at this time?
So that is the utility and billing is a 3-year. They will guarantee that price for 3 years.
Okay.
So what happens in that term, obviously we might be back here in 3 years, or they may just go up just a little like everything else. But
Okay.
yes, so valid question. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were asking.
Yeah, you answered my question. Thank
Okay.
you.
The village that has an agreement with another town village, do you happen to know what the cost was for that intermunicipal agreement? Who was that?
Alba in the town of Batavia, and she did not give that to me.
Can you find that out?
Well, the situation is that it may be different because they bill for water and sewer,
Who bills for water and sewer?
Alba. So they have village
Right.
water and so,
So since this was the town of Batavia, correct?
yeah.
Which they have intermunicipal agreements with several different municipalities for different things because they have a whole like billing system or billing department. They've onboarded. Can we find out what it would cost to onboard as a intermunicipal agreement for there? I talked to Joe Shamil and Virgin. They're not capable of onboarding us at the time with that. It's just these expenses for these programs are very expensive. So if one can do one billing and then onboard a different district, basically, they may have already implemented the $6,000 cost initially, and then we could just help for a few $1,000s a year, their costs, bring their costs down and not burden the sewer district with this capital outlay, this part, which I thought that's what you're going to be looking into this month.
Well, like I said, they also do, so you can take that, but then you also have some type of accounting program that we would need to purchase here because we don't have that here.
Can't you just put it in like bags it would be an Excel spreadsheet or something like that that we would pass on to the billing department.
I don't know if that
Just
would be the case.
receivables.
They actually use Williamson's, because they're a village, they actually do their accounting different. So they actually have an actual software program that, which again, I don't know what the requirements are as far as what our needs would be.
Is there a capability
For the
within the
controller.
DAS program to add a category to track? Much like the trash bags, I'm just using that as an example. When someone pays, it's worth $6,000 to not have to pay that.
But you also do have to keep in mind, I know that is one upfront cost. They started out at $6,900. I told them it was too much money. They came down to $6,100. I know that sounds like a lot of investment, but that also does include 1 year that you're already paying ahead for. So ultimately, it's $3,000, or I'm sorry, $4,000. It's $4,000 that you're investing one time. And that's again, I know it's a lot for a 1 year investment, but in the grand scheme of things, it will also grow with us if we so need to grow. And again, I don't know if we want to have another meeting to.
Can we table this and find out
Have we
more?
been on Edmonds for, do we know how long we've been?
Since 2008.
Okay.
So, and again, it's not.
It's working now, though, right?
It's, the only reason that we have to move is because there's not many people on this bare bones system that we've always used. So they're just doing away with that program.
Yeah.
So they've been trying to get us to, I think for the past several years, knowing that they were probably going to do this, they've tried getting us to onboard with the upgraded system for yes, they've been doing that for a long time. So, and we just haven't needed to because it works. And now they're not giving us a choice. Well, now they're saying we are no longer supporting this. We're no longer hosting this particular program anymore. So you either move with us or you move on.
Was there any other suite that this is the separate billing program, excuse me. Is there a suite of things that would be better for us to onboard and bring the overall cost down with whatever I don't recollect exactly what was in your clerk programming, but.
So Williamson, or I'm sorry, even just if we compare to the price to Williamson, just onboarding for 1 year with just the sewer program is $83.25. So, I mean, obviously Edmonds GovTech is $6,100. That's quite a significant difference, even if, and I'm sure Edmonds also keeps in mind that we do utilize their software for zoning and coding. Melissa does that. And again, obviously the abstracts, vouchers, the docs, the marriage licenses, the vital records.
So, sorry, not to interrupt.
Yeah.
But just a question that goes with that, because again, I know from some of the planning board conversations, there's been conversation around what our billing rates are for code and zoning and permits, all that kind of stuff. Would that be encompassed into the same program? You can use the same billing program?
So Melissa's program is separate. My abstracts, vouchers, dogs, vital records, that is separate. And then there's a separate login for the sewer system as well.
I guess I'm saying, does that all play into the same program update? Or
They're all separate.
They're all
They're all
different?
separate components. That was what I was asking
Yes.
for, is if we updated, let's say for $10,000, we onboarded a whole new suite that is compatible for everything that we need. Is it a better investment for the town than $6,000 to the sewer district? Excuse me, and spread that amongst the entities for capabilities. It's been a long time since I've
I just
keyed
got
stuff
a
in.
question, Chrissy, what's your opinion on that?
I mean, obviously, just because, Edmonds has been great to work with. Like I said, I don't disagree that it's a lot of money for a computer system. But I also think having to be able to keep a history of what you have, especially using the program for so long, same as the vital records and the, dog licensing, to go to a whole new system. it would be tough. I don't know how well the systems converge. I mean, like Williamson, I asked them if they worked with other companies to try to take their history from and move over, and they're like, well, no, basically you're gonna have to print an Excel sheet and, you know, we enter in from that. We don't converge, like, you know, obviously their systems don't mesh. So, I mean, in my opinion, obviously GovTech is the way to go. But again, it's user-friendly. I have great customer service. I'm on a Facebook page with New York State town clerks, and this question gets posed often because obviously things are ever-changing, and it a lot of times does come down to Edmonds GovTech's the way to go for the ease of use, understanding, learning. You know, customer service is always accessible. And, you know, that's my opinion.
I'll make a motion to sign the agreement with Edmonds.
Second.
Forward?
Aye.
I,
Nay. I think that we should be looking in combining resources for this one simple task. I don't think it needs to be housed within here. If our bookkeeping is outsourced, I don't see why this one task, this cost, should be in-house. Just my opinion.
Okay.
And then back onto the report.
Okay. The summer rec program has started last week, so it started June 30th. Currently, the town employs one recreation leader and one recreation aide daily. There's also an alternate aide available for employee time off and field trips for extra supervision, and also if anybody has any time off. He can come in and cover, but that's all his schedule will allow. So Genesee County Job Development also has the ability to hire 2 teenagers if they're suited for the program, and the county pays for them to work. Unfortunately, the teen that was interested in applying and did apply job development, his family makes just over the limit, therefore they will not hire him. So I am requesting this young gentleman be hired as an employee through the town. The rate of pay would be just like the other recreation aid, which is $17 an hour. I would request that his employment, he did start on June 30th. It's been working really well. The leader and the rec aide, Roman, they've all been getting along really well. We've had a great turnout, somewhere between 25 and 30 kids on average, Monday through Friday. And that was actually with a week with no lunch last week. So I am, again, looking to see if we would be willing, if the town board would be willing to allow us to hire this third person, which would be able to be at the recreation camp 5 days a week for 3 hours a day.
Were there any other teams that were interested in the position?
So there was one other teen who applied in Genesee County Job Development. Unfortunately, when I spoke with them, she's more interested in working with animals than children. So they could be one and the same occasionally, but
Hey, someone with Brandon for a name.
So currently, if they weren't paid, they volunteered last week. So you want a retro pay?
that's what I wanted to do. Yes, they volunteered last week. We wanted to see how it worked, if they meshed, if he was good at supervision, and think, you know, if he could.
And job development has vetted them out?
Job development, yes, they look at, you know, he went right to job development, they talked to him. Unfortunately, just for example, the qualifications for a young person to work in, just hits off the top of my head, for a household of 3 people, the family income cannot be more than $53,000. That really hinders being able to hire kids through job development as a whole. Because that's and they want to work. And we actually, yes, we did have 2 kids apply through.
And the kids there every day, Christy, working, doing.
Yes, 14-year-old kid, he just wants to work.
15.
Oh my God.
15, sorry. He's got his working papers. Like I said, he was willing to volunteer last week. Did a great job. He was really helpful. And actually, he's been a long-time kid who's gone to rec as well. So he kind of knows the drill. And the kids know him. A lot of the kids already know him.
I make a motion to approve.
So if I can.
I'll second.
Oh, okay, so if somebody could make the motion, I didn't realize this before as it was not done prior, I don't think. John had stated that we should appoint all of our folks once rec starts, and I didn't realize that. So if we could make the motion to appoint, which I did jot their names in there.
You want to read the motion, or?
Yeah, I will, so right here, this one is, where was it on this one?
Right at the bottom, where they run.
All right. Councilman makes a motion to approve Carson Wells recreation aid to Byron Recreational, also appoints Michelle Stewart as recreational leader, and Roman Smith and Jacob Stewart recreational aid on June 30th.
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And my report is done.
Motion to accept. Second.
Aye.
Thank you.
No, thank you guys. I think is a great addition, and the kids are having a great time. We went to the cemetery today and cleaned headstones. They think that's great with toothbrushes and brushes, giving back. So they had a great time today. So thank you guys.
Supervisor's report, everyone received from BBS the financial report for this month. Any review or questions? Anybody? In regards to that, there will be budget modifications forthcoming in next month's packet based on some of the highlighted areas you'll see. They're all reimbursables. Working with the planning board and the accountant and all those kinds of things, all these projects, we're going to get reimbursed the funding, or excuse me, our costs for engineering and attorney fees for these community solar projects and stuff like that. It's just a matter of figuring out the accounting, so we've created the accounts. Now we just have to move the money appropriately once we're reimbursed. And one of the developers has put money into an escrow account for a declining balance, and we need to work with our accounting firm to adjust those appropriately. Today, budget requests were sent out to different committees, boards, etc. They're due back by 8:20. I have a meeting with the bookkeeper at 10 a.m. on 8:25 for the draft budget. Any organization that may have not received a copy of the request form, please see either Christy, the town clerk, or myself. Will provide you with that. As stated earlier, the CF applications are due the end of the month. There's 2 being applied for. Both are for the Consolidated Sewer District Wastewater Treatment Plant. The 2 grants totaling around $9 million is what we're requesting. That's going to help with the debt service to the sewer if we can get these funds. If not, it's going to be a very costly endeavor for the sewer district. Christy and Sean from Camden Group have been working to collect data for both the applications. We received in your packet, I got a letter from Jeffrey Sharl, the project manager for NYSERDA. We have been put on a list. There's an expiring contract that we did not sign as of October of last year. It was a $10,000 NYSERDA grant. There was issues that we didn't want to proceed with the $10,000 grant application for clean energy improvements based on the energy audit for the town hall here last year. So basically it just went off the radar. However, it came back up on the radar, and they're giving us an opportunity to utilize the funds that we earned, but we'll have to work with Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council over the next 3 weeks to trigger like a new application for utilizing those funds for something like electric equipment. I know Virgin used it for their park maintenance, weed eaters, trimmers, electric type things. We have $10,000 that we could utilize for those kinds of things. Possibly, which I haven't checked with yet, but I know the park committee had been looking for possibly a aerator for one of the ponds that we have, possibly a solar powered one, maybe utilized for that. So that's what we would draft up, and I would utilize Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council to draft that application again. And we just have the opportunity to trigger that $10,000. Anybody has any ideas on how to use it, please let me know. Are you good with me proceeding forward to change that application agreement with NYSERDA?
I remember, Ray, we discussed this last fall, but I don't remember why we decided to sign the contract. I think if I recall right, that we didn't have a budget, if you will. We didn't have a plan on how we were going to spend the money. I think that's why we did not sign it in
And
the
that's recollected too, because it was coming back for the.
Well, we don't. I forwarded you the audit. Basically, these were done at the same time as the audit, so that would trigger if there were any recommendations utilizing for a new storm door, a new hot water tank, the money could be utilized for whatever the recommendations were.
Was there a match involved?
I think, was that the one, the contract, the copy we were given had a bunch of mistakes on it?
That wasn't the final contract. Yes.
Well, then why were you trying to get it approved if that wasn't the final contract?
Because that's what they sent me.
So I'd
So-
like to see the contract before we approve it.
That's just good business.
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Apparently not.
I just get tired of fighting with everybody when you just decide to come here and ask
Candy,
questions.
when you
No,
come to a board, you have to ask for, it's not just one person, it's a board. We all work on this together. Just because you come up with an idea and you don't like it, that doesn't, it goes for all of us. We've
Okay,
gone through this again.
okay, fair enough. So,
Could- could we do that?
here's the question. The question I'm posing is, this $10,000 NYSERDA grant, do we want to proceed to utilize this
The
grant
question
fund?
that Jeff had, did you have a contract and can we see it?
I do not have the contract.
Okay, when you get a contract and we can see it, then let's proceed on.
Okay,
Until then,
fair
I
enough.
don't know nothing.
Okay, good. Next item, update on the Pumpkin Hill property. I was in contact with Kevin Andrews, the county treasurer. The county said they will contact the town as the county attorney is working on the foreclosure process when I spoke with them since our last meeting. Let's update with that.
And us as a town, we ought to be ashamed of ourselves to go up there and see that building falling down.
I
I
go
know there's a
there.
neighbor right over there, and I know he's here to speak. This is sickening to our
Okay,
town to
yeah,
have
it's
this.
my report, Martin, be quiet,
Okay,
please.
well, that's fine.
The Excelsior project, there's been, resident complaints have eased up a little bit. I talked to Christy earlier, but we're still being handled here at the town hall as a starting point, or online. You can access the complaint form, so either way, if it's a complaint, there's a process, please see us, we'll help you through it. Contact the supervisor or the clerk. If there's any safety concerns, which I've spoken to a couple residents about some other road concerns, I'll follow up on those again. Please contact either the supervisor, the clerk, or the highway superintendent if there's a safety concern that you see on the road, please. David, I forwarded you some stuff. I think those are being addressed, and some of them over the county. I've talked to Laura at the county level. Any idea about the road use agreements? And, I mean, this is an ongoing work in progress, and
That's what they're saying.
damn it, which part? It's an ongoing project?
I'm going.
It's good, well, I mean, it's gonna be here for another month or excuse me, year and a half. So, continue to relate the information back to us. Both the county roads are covered by road use agreements, because there's been some concern about that. Those were signed prior to construction starting. Actually, I think they were adopted or signed in 2022. Repairs are part of the developer's responsibilities. Eventually, they'll be taking care of them, and if it's a safety issue, we'll just be addressing those as we see them up here. Use caution on the roads, heed the signage. There's lots of signage out there, so don't be texting or anything like that. Watch the signs, watch for those bumps. They're there, they're protecting the road the best they can, and they'll be reconstructing stuff at the end. I encourage anybody to utilize the DPS link on the town website. It's the go-to for administrative processes overseeing the project under the Article 10. I want to note that I had a lengthy conversation with a resident yesterday in regards to an article in the newspaper about the petition that was cited in a Batavia Daily News article last week. I want to clarify what the petition was that was referred to in Article 10. It's not a signature petition that we know and understand in common practice in our daily stuff. What that is, it's referring to an appeal, a request, or a formal application of the developer to the siting board that issued the permits for the project, okay? So the petition is it's a part of the process, okay? So don't think you're gonna be signing anything. That's not how it works, okay? The last month, I've been in contact with Boylan, O'Toole, and Wisniewski, as they were part of the legal team during the citing process and the Article 10 proceedings. Just trying to get a little bit of a grasp on what was signed off on, and we're seeing presented back to us as signed documents in that Article 10, in that DPS processing. Now all those things are being filed officially, even though they were enacted and signed off on a couple of years ago. So since that was the legal counsel then, I referred back to them a couple times just to see where we stood on a couple topics as they drafted some of the documents. Just so you're aware, I attended that 3-day Land Use Leadership Alliance Conference at GCC last month. In your mailboxes, there were some maps and an assessment handout. I gave you those so you could see some of the information that goes along with, I forwarded, after the conference, I forwarded you all the presentations that were there. These were 2 documents that were presented and struck me as of concern for the town. And these are coming from the state level. And these are what are presented at the state level that are available to developers to see about our town. Okay, so with that, and for anybody's reference, there was maps. I made colored copies. I was unable to do that last week for the planning board. Those maps show the 3-phase electric lines in our town and the KV, which are the big transmission lines through our town. It's because of those lines that are documented on that map that are triggering things like community solar development, the 3 that we have cited, and the Excelsior project. So taking that map and then that large sheet of paper that's there that has the assessment that the state gave of our town, which they presented those assessments for every municipality that went to that conference. So it's personalized for our town. Those 2 documents have me in great concern because the state is now expediting the process for additional sightings first it was Article 10, then it was 94C, and now at the state level there's a draft of Article 8, which is an even more expedited process. And we are with those KV lines that run through our town, and there's more capacity on them. Okay, so it's been, in discussing it with the planning board, our zoning laws in relationship to solar and renewable energy probably need to be relooked at so that when they're cited at the state level, if a developer comes through, they will look at our own zoning laws and our comprehensive plan, and they will look at those, and the language in both of those documents doesn't put us in a fair enough position if a developer cites something else here again. That's my takeaway. I don't know, John, do you want to, I mean, we've had this conversation a couple times with that. And I've been trying to gather information from sources in the legal realm to ensure that if we redraft our zoning laws, to be looked at a level, not at the local level, but they'll be looked at the state level, like the Excelsior project, that they look at them and we have drafted in there what we want them to look at and how they how we want them to look at us if they pose something else. It's being proactive instead of reactive, which with the Excelsior project, we were reactive ever since the developer Excelsior presented the pre-application in March, I believe it is, of 2019. Okay? And the accelerated process of the state leads me to think that there's concern that we need to readdress those. So,
How much room do they have left? And is it in terms of wattage or acres or?
it's got to do, Eric, with the capacity on the
Right,
transmission
right.
lines, okay?
And how much do they have left?
They is in who, I guess is the question.
Yeah.
The developer, a developer is going to look at the properties that are available in town and say, look, there's these lines, there's capacity, and then the other thing is that one map shows the transmission lines and our substation. Now that Excelsior is building a new substation in town, that's a huge substation, so with battery energy storage, if someone has a 100-acre parcel within 2 to 3 miles of that and they want to lease that land as a battery energy storage facility, they can do it. Okay?
So the town of Byron needs to have language stating that there will be pushback.
And
Could be.
And I think, Jeff, you were back in it there, I think we couldn't go over 10%.
Okay, those laws don't apply when it gets to the tier 4 utility scale. Brandon, chime in because I know you've been part of discussions with the community solar, which the planning board has been working on diligently with these 3 projects for the course of several years. My takeaway from the planning board meeting when I gave them the same information was there's some difficulty in reading the zoning laws because those zoning laws were drafted in a race with the application with Excelsior. Okay? So, professional specialty legal advice is what I've talked to John about, and I'm trying to rustle up some specialty people, which my notes show that the specialty people that I've contacted so far are Richard O'Toole and Ben Wisniewski, which were both part of the Zofflin group and worked with our town attorney before drafting our first solar laws and the battery energy storage law that we just adopted. Okay? Those are needed documents to have on file, which is why we did it. However, seeing where the state stands and what we have control over, the utility scale we don't have control over, but it is, like Eric said, drafting, wordsmithing, I believe, our own documents to make sure that when they're reviewed at the level by Albany that were prepared, okay? And drafting, hosting agreement information, and pilot agreement, all those things that we played catch up on before, having that actually written and looked at, I think is important. Harris Beach was another solar specialist, Carter Sechrist and Emery, and Dwight Kenya. So these are the 5 people or companies I've reached out to that specialize in solar or renewable energy. I've asked them to submit some qualifications back. I've started receiving some back to present to you. My goal is by next month to have some information. And what you'll find after I've talked to them is some of these specialists have different takes on things. Some want to fight the state, okay, so it'll be in litigation. Some are trying to look at your zoning and align you with what the state is documenting, so it's a concern. And that's that was my takeaway from that conference. They started citing large scale instead of the community solar, and every time they said large scale, and then they presented that map with those lines that go through our town, which is why Elba and Oakfield have a project. That's why Alabama, for the last 6 years, they have a developer that's been trying to onboard land there. I spoke to that town supervisor in the last week just to see what they were doing, and they couldn't acquire enough land in that community for that project, so now they're onboarding properties in Oakfield and Batavia. Landowners have got leaseholds, received leaseholds on property in both of those 3. So it's going to be an intermunicipal agreement for those landowners, because it's not just a community, this is like Niagara Falls in our backyard, okay? So being prepared for that. And with that, I've spoke to a NYSERDA rep that presented, and they're scheduled to present on Wednesday, July 23rd at 7 p.m. at the Supervisors Community Forum as a community offering to better explain the state side of it. So you can see exactly what I was presented and where my fears are. I've asked for a presentation of Byron specifically, and the Byron perception at the state level, and the information that's readily available to developers. So the ORES, the Office of Renewable Energy Siting, is what now oversees all of these large-scale projects, okay? So they've developed all this stuff came from them. So this is what's seen, and it's readily available if you start searching on all the sites. I want somebody to spoon feed it to our town, okay, to make it easy. I spent hours researching the stuff that was presented in those documents I forwarded to you. So there's a lot out there, and look what it's already done to our town. So being proactive instead of reactive, I think, is the best course. The rep will also explain how NYSERDA can assist the town in preparing amendments to their renewable energy zoning laws. So they offer assistance in drafting, so it's a free resource, so the planning board could utilize that, or whoever we decide to help us with those laws. As I said, I've had several discussions with the town attorney about my concerns and the specialization of these laws and stuff, and it's ever changing. So with that, to have John on board with just helping decide who would best fit the needs of the town when we get that information. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but there's a lot. So, what I would like to know is if we can open up the Supervisor Community Forum discussion group on the 23rd at 7 p.m. and open up that as a public meeting and give notice, and then you can all attend if you so chose. It's a presentation, I'm just, it fit into the gentleman's schedule, it's a public, it's for the public, but if you want to hear the same stuff, a public meeting then would open it up to you. I think that'd be the best course of action.
That
If
would
you
be
so-
held here?
Yes.
Where is the location? Here?
Yeah, here. So, I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but I want to be as transparent of what I learned. I don't want to get caught if something should happen, because it could. I mean, that 280 megawatt substation means that opens up possibilities for other things, because now they can take down energy for those battery energy storage, a large scale one, okay? So that gives us more capacity for that, and that transfer station or substation, excuse me, over on Byron Road is not on that map because the solar project's not overlaid on that. I couldn't quite figure out how to do that already, but we do have those same farmers that maybe have other property that they're willing, I have no idea.
And this is a free resource?
The NYSERDA one is yes.
The class or the presentation?
Yes, I've asked him to come and present his portion of what he presented, which he had the map. The assessment came from that same thing, so he's a consultant that works as a subcontractor for NYSERDA. So NYSERDA takes care of him coming here. Yes, the state is pushing proactively, but if it's a free resource, we need to know what where we're at. Because it's the state that,
I don't think it's a bad idea as far as just providing information.
it's informational as
Right.
only, and he penciled us in for that as an open opportunity on that day, so I don't know. I'm just asking to open up as a public meeting. If you want to attend, that's fine. I think that the residents, I forwarded you all the information from that conference. It was a lot. Some of it doesn't pertain to us, but many of the items are or did. And with that, every time they said utility scale, the takeaway was scary. Okay?
Yeah, the door is open.
What's that?
The door is open
What do
to
you
the
mean?
town clerk.
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
pants are down.
Well, and I prefer to pull them up a little bit.
Yeah, if you
Okay.
can. Too little, too late.
Do you know how long this presentation will be? And because I think back in March when we had the public meeting here, we told them we would get Excelsior here to present.
And Excelsior doesn't have to, so they didn't. They're-
You told everyone though that they were willing to have a meeting, and the majority of the people at the meeting wanted to hear from Excelsior.
Okay.
So is that something we could combine?
Probably not, but I can, I can check with Excelsior.
What did you say? There was possibly, there was going to be a meeting, but they denied they didn't want to do it?
They're not required to do
Not
it.
required to do it.
They're not required per their Article 10 to hold anymore.
Okay.
Okay?
At that meeting, you said they offered to do a meeting. That's what I was told. So we expected that there would be a follow-up to that. Nothing ever came out. A couple months later, we still haven't heard anything more about that from that point
Okay.
on.
I asked back out to not the pre-construction meeting, but the developer out of town, and there was no need for that, was what I was told. And nobody asked any more about it, so I let it go. So my apologies. So with that, can we change that July 23rd to a public meeting and document it accordingly so that if you want to attend, you can? That's all.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Christie, can you publish that and just post it where it needs to? I don't know if it needs to go anywhere.
Sorry, one more time. What was
Does
the
it hang-
date and time you're looking for?
Does it need to be a public hearing? I mean,
It's a public meeting is all. It's a special,
Just in case we all show up.
got
it's
it.
just
And you said, what was the date? I'm sorry.
the 23rd at 7 PM. I'm sorry, John.
More than two.
Right. And also, between now and next month, I'd like a motion, I'm asking for a motion to ask our town attorney to draft a resolution for our next board meeting to be able to appoint special counsel for renewable energy issues in the town. And at that point, I'll have information back from hopefully several other specialists, and I keep getting back, everyone keeps pushing back to the same 5 to 7 people that specialize in this. So I do have, you've got 2 proposals I received back from conversations I've had with several people, and they're starting to overlap with their conflicts of interest. So if we want to onboard a specialist as stuff is ramping up across the state with developers, we probably need to onboard someone sooner than later. So I just would like John to be able to draft the resolution to appoint someone once we choose it. Is that?
To appoint someone at the next meeting?
Well, I'm hoping to have everything, but if you allow him to draft the resolution, we'll have it ready for hopefully the next meeting. We'll have the information from that, and I'll have the information back from the people I said. And we've got the proposal from Dwight Cognac. I spoke to the gentleman from Harder Seacrest and Emery, who was referred to me today by 2 different renewable people. So if anybody knows of anybody, please let me know, and I'll be happy to reach out to them as a summary. Everyone, this is kind of a niche specialty, so.
So just for clarity, we're looking
Yep.
for somebody to help draft strong enough language to protect the town?
Ideally, yeah,
And we don't, and I guess this is to John, we don't think we have the ability in-house to put strong enough language in place, or it's the loophole game, I guess, is that?
I think it's the loophole game. That's my opinion, based on what was already drafted before, the pushback within the Article 10, what the siting board read our own laws and our comprehensive plan, and then cited it back in, or the developer at the time did actually, saying, you said you wanted this, we're providing this, it's, and you need to understand the processes of each of the siting, the utility scale is the part of it.
I can answer if you want.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Candace reached out to me and expressed her concerns and fears about what she anticipates and heard that may be coming to the town of Byron. And she asked me whether or not there could be any preventative legislation that could be created that would make it more difficult, or I didn't want to say more difficult, but like less easy to have these public utilities in the town of Byron that may be coming under this new Article 8 process. There's my understanding, speaking to Candace, that there's no specific projects that can be identified at this time, but it seems like at the state level, there's something in the works. I understand it in speaking with Candace that no matter what the towns do, that the state is going to revise whatever laws are on the books to meet the needs of the developer. And she asked me my opinion, basically, out of respect, and I appreciate that whether or not I felt that I have the ability to protect the town from an unknown entity that might be coming into the town at some point in time. I don't think anybody can do that. I think that's an impossible ask. However, I'm mindful that and aware that public utilities law, especially solar and wind energy, is a very, very specialized field. And I told Candace when we talked that I would believe there's probably maybe 10 attorneys in the whole state that have the ability to, I don't even want to say effectively, I should put quotes around it, maybe effectively handle something that might be coming down the road that the state's going to try to force to happen in the town. I can handle most municipal issues that come down the road. I mean, I've been a municipal attorney since 2001. But if I'm being asked to create laws in the books that, to prevent something that I don't even know what it is or how it works or what's coming down the road, I don't want my name associated with that. And so if that's the case, I had suggested that maybe the town consider a project manager, someone that worked or works in the public utility field that might be able to have experience and advise the town as to what potential pitfalls might be looming. And, but Candace, throughout the whole number of conversations that we had, she's been consistent, and she wants someone legal, which, you know, this is creation of laws and things like that, but I don't think necessarily it's a bad idea. It's going to be very, very expensive.
And that was more where my question was heading.
Well,
is, can we?
if I can finish that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you. Because there's only 10 people or 5 people that, you know, are interested in doing this, and a lot of them, you're seeing conflict letters because they represent the developers and one, you know, someone in the firm. And they're all big firms. Most of them are all big firms. That's why it's a little bit more expensive. So if something's going to come down the road that I don't know what it is, no one knows what it is, no one knows how to handle it, and I just think it's impossible for you to ask me to create laws that are going to protect against the unknown. That's why I agreed to, if you want to, I'm not offended if you want to hire somebody to do that. It's not going to, I mean, that's fine. Let their name be associated with it, not mine. And so that's why I agreed to, out of respect for the town, and I want you to be protected, and I don't know what's coming. It seems like it's a moving target. It seems like they're going to do whatever they want to do anyway, so if the project's going to come and the public's going to be unhappy about it, and I am unable to protect the town board and the town, then, you know, I understand my limitations, and let somebody else do it. Let their name be on it.
So, and that's my fear with it, you know, is that it turns into a spending game with no greater protection, where, like, is there a path where we can create strong enough language to at least set some roadblocks in the way, you know?
Possibly.
But like you said, with a moving target, I just don't understand, you know, you could spend all the money
Correct, and
putting up stops and find a way to walk right through them.
so,
I guess my question more is just
so
that,
I'm not asking the board to commit to anything, I'm just sharing the information with you all at this point.
Mhm.
And the steps to proceed, step by step, was first understanding exactly where we sit as a town, okay? Okay, if they're gonna take away those transmission lines next week, we won't have to worry about it, but that is the issue I see, and in a lot of reading, it's just preparing, now that we're actually getting information. What, we never knew what, I sat on the comprehensive plan committee when we drafted some stuff, and it's not gonna happen in Byron. We don't have to worry about that here. That was actually a comment of the committee when we discussed it and drafted things in the comprehensive plan, okay? So with that, maybe we didn't do our due diligence to and we had a consultant back then that helped us, but, you know, we're not in the position we're in now. So, as I said, being proactive instead of reactive,
The only town that you know of that's had a little success that you spoke of was Alabama, because,
that's not a success.
well, it sounded to me like the way you spoke is that maybe they weren't able to obtain land.
They presented originally to the town of Alabama.
Alabama.
Okay, Alabama. They received a $50,000 retainer for whatever reason. They got some money up front from the developer, but that was back when Excelsior started here, I think. So with that, the developer onboarded somewhat with the town, but they're not even in an application stage yet. So they're trying to work with the town, but they haven't been able to get the land ownership that they wanted. There's a lot going on over in Alabama with the STAN project and stuff like that. So with that, the developer has got their idea still, so now they're just going out further and tying in lease agreements here and here. Once they get the right number of lease agreements, then they can develop a plan, which is why you see stuff where you do, because Excelsior used our own zoning laws to create what you see now. So with that, and I've talked to several landowners that are in the project, but because of our own zoning laws and the setbacks we had, it's spread out more than concentrated because of 200-foot setbacks at the road and stuff like that. So looking at those, maybe if we know it's coming, we can compress it in, or I don't know. But the developer looks at those things ahead of time. They have legal teams on top of legal teams on top of legal teams. Different aspects. Every time I ask John a question about something, Excelsior has a department that takes care of what they just sent us for us to look at, you know, and different firms doing several different things. So,
So I guess just to bring it back on the
Yep.
resolution that you were looking for.
I'm just asking for a motion for John to be able to draft a resolution to provide service.
You don't necessarily need a motion, you can just ask me to do it, I'll do it.
Okay, well that.
I mean, if you
What I
want,
want,
if you want to do that, you can, but I think all you have to do is ask, and I'll do it. Work for you.
no, I want the board to be on board with it. I just, you know,
I'm on board with it.
so.
Likewise.
This is the conversation that I maybe not missed for something else. I'm trying to have it, so. And I know that there's bottlenecks with the tier 1, 2, and 3 solar projects at the planning board level, but the planning board still can impact those. It's when it gets to utility scale, and maybe that just has to be drafted totally separate and plugged in differently than we have.
We need a couple more bald eagles.
Or the Mississauga rattlesnake. Oh, and last thing, sorry to take up so much time, but this takes a lot of time to grasp this stuff. We received our payment for the easement. It got deposited today.
You got the rest of it?
We got the $50,000.
Okay, good. All right.
Yes, it was in the queue when I contacted them.
Good.
So the easement brought $50,000 to the town. That's my report. Any questions, comments?
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Don's not here tonight? Nope. Historical Society, the Stafford painters finished the painting on the museum.
He
Yes,
didn't give me anything to report, so I threw that in there thinking he was going to be here.
that's
But
okay.
he wasn't.
And we've approved the payment of the painting,
Yes.
so that's done. So motion to approve the report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Aye.
I didn't have so my notes in there, I just put that in there from the Parks Committee. I didn't have a report for them there.
Okay, the July meeting was canceled, and there's new cameras at Terry Street parking lot and in Trestle Park. Motion to approve.
So motion approved.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. So moved. Anybody here from the fire departments or EMS? Please get me the budgets if anybody's here from there for next month, please. CEO, ZEO report?
Melissa sent me a real quick report. Looks like she had 6 permits issued. Looks like a land separation. She's completed 3 more hours of required training via MRB monthly presentations and a web training online. She did put it in her report that the CEO received a call from a resident on July 8th regarding the Grange building owned by Christine Roberts at 6538 Byron Holly Road. Has had the back half of the roof collapse in due to the heavy rain and winds lately. The building is unsafe and evidently the county is planning on auctioning it off in August, essentially placing the burden on the potential new owner. We have known about this for over a year and just keeps getting worse. I did make a call to the county just a few weeks ago after the taxes were due, just to see if anybody had paid them or anything towards them, and it was no. They did state that the property was going into foreclosure, and as Melissa said, auction through Bontrager's auction in or around August 1st. And that's all the information that she gave me.
Motion to accept the CEO's year report, please.
So,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. So can we take any action on this house, John?
Yep. I mean, I have to talk to Melissa, and, but, yes, you can. I mean, the issue, though, is by the time you get it into court, it's going to be already scheduled for in rep. And then if someone buys it,
I mean, if it's condemned and it's a hazard, it's dangerous, why can't we take action and
you do have on your books.
demolish it?
And speaking with Melissa, you do have on your books a dangerous building law.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I can talk to you about the details. But if you want me to give me direction to pursue it with Melissa, I can start tomorrow.
I would love to.
Okay.
Is that all we need to get going, or we need a motion, or a vote, or?
No, it's going to be facilitated by Melissa, who already has authority to commence it.
Yeah.
If we go in the direction that I think we should go, which would be under the code. If you're going to go dangerous building, it's more of a civil proceeding. And at that point in time, I don't think it'd be, honestly, you're going to be paying me to do something that is going to change over a month. So I wouldn't recommend you spend the money on me doing that. But if Melissa thinks that that's the best way to go is civilly, using that law, I will come back to the board and I just have to get your permission.
Thanks, John.
So, does Melissa need anything from the board
No.
to
no.
take action to have that house demolished?
Oh, you're talking about getting demolished?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about, when you said take action, I thought you were talking about like order, remedy, and going through the normal code enforcement process. I didn't know you meant demolition.
So what's the normal remedy? The remedy there, John, would be to
I think
tear the house down, at least get it on the ground and, you know,
We're back into that situation that we were in before. But, I mean, yeah,
So
you can do that, to answer your question. You can,
So it's a money issue, and
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's
I
something
think-
that may change hands. If I were you, I would wait to see what happens at the auction. If
You know-
nobody buys it, then you know who you can pursue. And if you start a process now and it changes hands, owners, it changes at the auction, then you've wasted whatever money you paid to go through the process now. Because you have to start over again after the
especially
auction.
if it's in August 1st. But so the question I have is, so if it goes up for tax auction, is there any way you put stipulation that the house needs to be immediately removed on?
We have no control over what details, actually, there's already been a book that's been published and given to potential buyers for all the properties that are involved in it.
Yeah.
So there's no way that we could make any kind of difference at this stage with whoever's going to appear at the auction to buy properties.
All you could do then is start the civil proceedings with the new owners, right?
That's what I suggest you do. Like you would only get service of process, and there's a time frame for them to comply, to bring the property into compliance, which would take you past the auction. That's why I would suggest you wait until
Right,
after
start with the
auction.
new owners.
Yes.
But you know, that, they say on or about August 1st, and usually you can just go online and look at for tax auction what's coming up.
You can. They have a book that's published too that.
Yeah, right, so that's, we should be able to go look up.
You can, yeah. There's usually a website, somebody that has a
Yeah,
website,
says
they
county.
call you by the county and it refers you to them and then has all
Right.
the listings. So
Right.
yeah, you can find that very easily.
Right, thanks, John.
sewer report?
Sean gave me a little bit, those two septic tanks that had collapsed that you folks had given him approval for have been taken care of and replaced, one in the trailer park and one on Mechanic Street. He responded to several stakeouts, and there was a picture that I had in there for you folks. Just an FYI, the enclosure that holds the flow meter fell off its fixture at North Byron Pump Station, so that's being replaced. But otherwise, that was it.
Motion to accept the sewer report, please.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Board members, anything,
I'm sorry, what's that?
anything that you'd like to make comments, concerns, anything, complaints, residents? Yes, sir.
Over the last month or so, actually prior to the primary, speaking to a lot of my neighbors, our constituents, excuse me. I had a person tell me that the old boys club on the town board meets prior to the meetings and makes all the decisions before the meeting is even held. And I just want to tell you that I don't know where that came from, but I will inform you that our prior attorney warned us that we could not meet, the board members could not meet in the back room here before a meeting altogether and approve the vouchers, because if there was more than two of us, if there was three of us in that room together, there was a forum and we needed to do it publicly. So, for instance, I come in and I approve the vouchers sometime around lunchtime. Martin comes in separate from Jeff. I can tell by who's signing off on it. I assure you that I'm going on my 6th year. This is my 6th year on the board. I have never met with other council members to discuss board business before meeting. Might get a phone call that says, "Hey Fred, what do you think about, the vacant building up here on Pumpkin Hill?" Never have I met with the other board members to decide business that's going to be held at these meetings. Yesterday, I got a draft agenda. Today, I got the agenda when I came in to sign off on vouchers. So there's no way, even if we wanted to do that it could be done. It's typical that we get the agenda the day before the meeting or the day of the meeting. So anyway, if people think that the old boys club, which I've been accused of a member of, is getting together and doing town business prior to meetings, it's not true. So I just want to get that off my chest.
And that is 100% correct, right? For sure.
Anybody else? Board? Open up to public comments, please. Anybody? Questions, concerns?
Just old hat about the Grange, sore subject, 3-minute limit. Okay, now, I have pictures on my phone. Did they get submitted to this board? Do you all have a copy of those?
And you know what?
You have a copy of those pictures?
And we did, right here. We all had.
What's your opinion? And I'm going to address it to every single member, and I'd like to hear from every single one of you. And I'm about ready to be quiet. I just want to know what your opinion is of that. And if, God forbid, if something happens, who's going to pay for wiping out me, my life, or any of my personal belongings? Because with sunshine and radiation and magnification and a 1830s built post and beam building catches fire and wipes out my stuff, my piranha's coming.
And the fire department cannot respond.
And do you want to know what to go back to that? I agree with you 100%.
My piranha's
Because
coming if it happens.
And I said before, us as a board, we should be ashamed of ourselves.
It's not a threat, let me be clear. It's 100% not a threat, but I'm not just gonna sit and take it.
And I feel.
It's not insured.
And I've gone through.
Nobody pays a nickel, okay? It's 100% with what most recently happened within the past 7 days or less. It is elevated to an extreme level. I understand the attorneys advising about August. My conversation is no big secret. I talked to Melissa, You all probably know that. She advised me that it has changed in the auction process, and I could be wrong. That it is not going to be August, it's going to be in October. What, isn't that quite a long time for the sunshine and the radiance and the magnifications of all the junk and the mattresses and everything up there to possibly ignite that place? I could be sleeping in my bed at 2 a.m. I'm not going to have a clue what that means. God forbid. It's not, nothing is a threat here. It's just common logic and concern. Not a nickel, 5, 6 years, liens, people not getting paid. I have to cut that grass or it'll be up to passed by waste, which it is. You can't even see the X's on the house anymore that it's condemned. Enough is enough. The budget, whatever, worry about recouping the money later, get it done. That's all I got.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes. In regards to the town sewer, I know that I have a residence that's within the town sewer. And I know there's been some questions recently and comments about there might be some places maybe that aren't qualified right on how many units they have, I guess would be the term. It's probably been about 30 years I've been in the sewer district, and I've never had anything from the town, you know, saying that, okay, if you make a change to your property, if you're commercial, you make a change, if you're residential, you add an apartment. Should we send something out as a town to all the people that are within the district, just to make sure that everybody's within their category, or however it's stated, you know, to make sure that everybody is probably the minimum is to be paying their amount. The other thing is to make sure that we're putting in a sewer district that qualifies to handle all the units that we have for the amount of time that we want to have it for. Does that make sense?
No, it does, but I know it was, your, the duplex got down, are you looking for like your house too?
No, I'm just looking in general for the whole sewer district. Everybody should be,
So a review of the sewer zoning, the sewer,
yeah,
the local sewer law.
yeah,
And
how
I
you
haven't-
qualify. If you have you know, maybe you had a resident that didn't have an apartment in it, and maybe somehow got an apartment in there, but they really didn't know. Geez, am I
Oh, no, that was our exact thing too, if we got, you know, some of the.
whatever you might have.
Well, if we got a building downtown they have 4 apartments and they're only claiming for 3, that building should be paying for 4, you know what I mean?
Or whatever it might be.
So you're talking about enforcement then?
Or just send something out.
I suppose,
Because I don't think it has ever been done.
there's a lot of things that have been done.
I'm sorry?
It needs to be defined.
So,
Yes, what
So the sewer
qualifies
law-
as,
when they redid the sewer district, just as a conversation, when they redid this, the 3 sewer districts became the consolidated sewer district, okay? That process there, did they redraft the sewer laws, or just it was just a consolidation of the district, correct?
Consolidation.
Okay, so I do know in the consolidation language though, because I was looking at that for looking at these grants or whatever, that there's verbiage in there for the possibility of future of changing the billing of that, because currently we're EDUs per unit. There's no usage, because when the sewers went in, we had no public water anyway. So they couldn't monitor that.
right.
So there is language in there for, and I'll be honest, I haven't fully read it, but it does warrant being reviewed at this time.
And it's more, the big thing is to
And
make
it's
sure that,
it's the board's responsibility to do so. We
Yeah.
are charged with the district.
to make sure that we're putting a facility in that's gonna handle, you know,
And those-
maybe we've got
Those
15
questions,
extra units that we don't even know about within a,
okay, so to answer that question, I did review the maps and I did check in with some people in the consolidation of that district last year. And looking at the maps, there were people that had onboarded after the debt service was paid the first time. And once it was, tied into the sewer district at a rate, they have like a buy-in, let's say, it's gonna cost you $3,000 and then you're in the sewer district. And then you go on with your O&M, your EDU usages, and those people got added into the new district because they were add-ons before, so the map changed back then. So they'll be part of the debt service, okay? The capacity of the proposed engineering of this is a mechanical with the capacity of what we currently have and some extra capacity for add-on development in the future. Okay, and it can plug and play and add on a component later is what they're proposing. Does that answer those? But to review those, we probably should do
Yeah,
that.
I would think that anybody that's in a district
Would want to know.
should get a letter saying, this is what qualifies you
Well, we do.
to have an apartment, to have whatever.
There's one of those that come out every year.
Yeah. So every,
I've never got one.
it actually, I'm thinking back because it was the first time I did it, but October, November-ish, when we're getting ready to do all the re-levies to submit to Genesee County for the taxes, there's a letter that comes out, I believe I sent it with the last sewer billing to confirm you are being charged for 1, 2, whatever units.
Right.
If you disagree with this, if this is incorrect, please let us know. And the only reason I remember that, to be honest, is because I had somebody come in and they were like, no, they bought an apartment house, like it was a 2-unit facility or home, and they have a big family and they ripped it out, and so they ended up going, so Melissa had to do an inspection, come back, we had to say to the board, we have to remove one of the sewer debt services, to reflect a residential single-family home.
But
So-
that doesn't have anything in there really what a definition of a unit is.
No, you are correct,
That's
but
what
it is
we're
on
looking
there,
at.
okay.
Because there could be people that have, like I said, they've got a residential house, maybe they have an apartment, maybe they add a daycare, maybe they add elder care, all kinds of things that could happen, that maybe they're like, well, should I get a hold of the sewer department? Is it
No,
really
but I would
explained?
think that there should be a mechanism within the law that triggers the code enforcement officer to pass that on, but I don't.
But
quote me on that.
I just think it should be visited and looked at.
I believe so too.
Especially since we're starting with a new sewer district, get it squared away now. And it's not, like I said, it's not so much about getting the money, it's just to make sure that we've got a unit that's gonna handle it.
That's 100%, because if you're looking for 90 and we got 110, we better make sure that we got it for 110.
We can
And
handle
make
it.
sure we handle it.
And it's gonna last 50
And then
years
not
or
only
whatever.
that, and just to use you for example, you got apartments, got 2, you got 3, you gotta make sure you're gonna pay for 3, not 2.
Yeah, whatever it is.
No, I agree, I think, and
I
that's.
just
No,
wondered.
a
if the
review of
board
that,
would-
I guess, is warranted. Any of the board members want to pick up the sewer law and take a look at it?
I tried to look at stuff online before I came and didn't see a real lot of definition in it, but maybe I wasn't
But I-
looking in the right spot. Went out of it. It was just a
Is the
suggestion.
sewer law online?
I can do some digging, Eric, and see if it is online.
I just would like to know if the board thinks that they will.
It should be looked at.
Okay.
You're right, because in looking at some of the documentation, the consolidation, there might be some stuff that, in trying to do one thing, other things may have been, and now we're presented with an $11 million project. And the burden of that is amongst all of us.
And a good point, make sure that we have enough capacity with all the things that we're doing.
Yeah,
It's not-
so the difference
it's not
between $800 a year, $1,200 a year is how much grant funding we can get.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Have a great week, everybody. Don't forget, there's that special meeting on the 23rd, if anybody's interested in NYSERDA.